Please.
Yeah, and maybe it was your first time talk, you were talking about the mind-body part, bringing it to neutral, I thought you said, in order to see things as they are.
Clearly.
Clearly, and as they were. But then today, and I think what you said previously too, you said something neutral, being neutral as opposed to pleasant, unpleasant neutral as being spaced out.
Right. And
Language?
this is language.
If I'm looking for the PB&J with green and clear. Not being, I can be spaced out pretty easy.
Likewise. Again, this word neutral, semantics and the kind of the etymology of all these words. Oh my God. Here we are working with the unexplainable. Last night I was trying to say something about, there's more here than meets the immediate, the pure perception itself, And some way on it, this is more about the expansion of the mind and the belief system. So it's not conditioned by its own condition. So the word neutral is lousy, purely. But again, the limitation is that we don't want it to be on, this is called the middle way. The place between the extremes. So what is that? And I don't know, except, probably the best word is just the middle way, neither a nihilistic or eternalistic. The Buddha said, these are two core belief systems. And I know, one of the things when I went to Asia, I had this idea of eternalism. That there was somehow, there was something out there in the great cosmos that we all want a savior. This is fundamental in the psyche. So there's that, but how much destruction that has created through various religions that. Man, they created more wars and death than we can, even count, and it's still going on today, And so there's that eternalism. Somehow there's a heaven, somehow something beyond this. And then the other one is sort of like, I remember when in Paris in my reading days, when there's a whole thing of Camus and the whole sort of existentialism. And there was also, I realized I was falling into nihilism, And the Buddha said, no, there's a place in the middle. It's neither of these things. And yet we want to jump back and forth. So I don't know what else to call it, And I get caught in words to talk about, again, a fine line that that we can know and feel, but maybe not necessarily explain, because everything that is in explanation is all in dualistic terms, and I'm not talking about a dualistic language term here.
So like indifference?
Indifference is no. That's a lousy word too. Indifference, even, in some of the languaging, I have this thing with, this is with Ajahn Jeff and stuff, and actually my friend Gil Fronsdale, about the word dispassion, that this is somehow that as we move along, we go to dispassion. None of them are dispassionate. They are passionate people about the truth, So it's not, in a sense, they're not getting caught in the emotion, because emotions usually lead to problems. And at the same thing, sheer intellectualism simply misses the point. So again, we're back to this unspeakable. And that's all I can say. It's unspeakable. And if you can hold the unspeakable in a way that you're not concretizing it or make it into anything and keeping it as, I love one of Adyashanti's, the thing that this language of the unknown and the that you can't actually, if you make it into something, you'll make it into a dualism. If you make it into dualism, you miss it. And so there is a way of how do we stay in the kind of mystery of it all without, I know. You see, I and know. And it's suddenly like, wait a minute, maybe that's not it. That is again concretizing both the I and some definition. And that definition was only valid now. It was only valid in that moment. That's interesting.
Is it wisdom? Is it prajna? Is that what it is? Or is that too cranial?
To use language?
No, I mean that middle place.
That middle place.
Could that be called?
That middle place, again, words,
yeah.
It's prajna, because there has to be the wisdom, and that also there's also a word that we don't particularly in this, it's hard, word faith. And faith is somehow that it's trusting in the unknown, and that there is an intelligence that through its ethics and understanding will act in a way that's clear and heartful. But we have to get there, because otherwise we are just this, kind of mix of believing in eternalism or, damn it, nihilism,